Hello, hello, Jordan Sheridan live. It is Monday, September 29th, 2025 in the fascist states of America. I'll have to get a new flag for that one. It is really, I'd say, trying times, Zaina, the wonderful Zaina Day with the Status Coup polo on. Thank you, Chris Garrett, for supplying.
Thank you, Chris.
I got to tell you, Zaina, my wife always says, like, you're just numb. You don't seem to get rattled by anything. And I tell her it's because I've seen a lot of shit. But yeah. I'm pretty rattled seeing particularly what went on this weekend on the ground, our coverage from the great John Farina, who was live for us in Chicago, from a ICE prison. I don't call them detention centers; they're prisons, where most people are with no due process. But seeing what's going on really, it's alarming to me, and that's coming from someone who's been arrested covering protests. I've been tear gassed. I've been shot at with rubber bullets. I was at Standing Rock, which was pretty horrible, and not that I had it anywhere as bad as Native Americans or the people on the front lines, but gave me, a little PTSD after the fact. But seeing not just the violence and brutality, which has been going on long before Trump in America, from our foundings to more recent day, Rodney King riots and the Black Lives Matter protests and Standing Rock, but also like the evilness behind it, kind of like the high school jock, steroidomaniac unleashed element of all of this, which is the ICE agents, the Border Patrol, the Stephen Millers, the fascists running the government now. It really makes you wonder, are we really headed for like something really dark, or are we already there? I don't know if it's a civil war. I don't know if it's, just government agents straight up killing people, but it's really, really dark. And I can't keep up. We were just talking before. I'm just trying to keep up with my Twitter feed and this feed and this feed, because like every freaking minute, it's just like fire hose of insanity, insane statements by the government, insane actions by the government, brutality. And it's hard. Forget we're humans as journalists, but it's hard to cover this and not be rattled. So we're going to go through John's incredible footage from Saturday where he was tear gassed. Protesters were tear gassed. Protesters were shot at with rubber bullets, stun grenades. It looked like fucking a scene out of Baghdad outside of this prison. We're going to show other horrifying videos of just like militarized stormtroopers just gallivanting around downtown Chicago, chasing a man on a bike for saying fuck Trump. Another like 79-year-old store owner elsewhere was tackled, broken ribs by ICE agents. It's just horrible. Sorry for that monologue. But your thoughts before we get to the footage, because obviously things have escalated to just full-blown fascism.
Took a lot of dehumanization. I'm working on an article right now about the dehumanization and the childlike adolescent rhetoric coming from out of the White House. So why we see the jackbooted thugs on the street, we're also seeing just sheer dehumanization. And we're going to talk about a little bit about the attacks on free speech in a recent executive order that was released, what they're labeling potential violent terroristic threats. And they're not going after people for the actions that they do necessarily. What this is implying is they're going to be going after people over rhetoric, what you say, a full-on assault on the First Amendment, coupled with jackbooted thugs in the street, coupled with National Guard in the streets, coupled with ramped up rhetoric to criminalize anyone they don't like. It's crazy times.
Right. And let's start, I'm not starting with this for my own vanity, but I'm starting with it because honestly, what I was watching on Saturday, and to be clear, I'm going to be pushing Status Coup fucking membership today. I'm going to be pushing it a lot because we are the only ones, or one of the only ones out there, frankly, taking serious risks to our health.
True.
John was tear gassed to holy hell. And when I spoke to him yesterday, he sounded like he had just been in a war zone. He was so not just physically exhausted, but mentally drained. So to do this work, not only does it cost money, but if you're not yet a paying member, I hope you watch this footage and realize the corporate journalists were in the back. They were not going anywhere near those ICE agents and Border Patrol firing guns.
Extra help, not only for boots on the ground, for the money that it costs to get there, for potential future legal fees, for maintaining a platform if they end us booting us off of every single platform we can be on. So to help secure being able to get this information and to be able to keep recording and keep sharing what's on the ground, independent journalism needs support. Status Coup needs your support.
Speaking of, I'll have a more detailed announcement about it later this week, but I did just hire a new reporter. He's actually en route to Chicago right now to meet John. So he will be on the ground with John today. So you'll be seeing a new face. But like Zaina said, we need to grow and expand. I'd love to hire Zaina in a different capacity. I'd love to hire a lot of people, but I'm not the federal government. And unlike the federal government, which apparently has the money to bail out fascist countries like Argentina and Malay, we'll get to that later. That's a doozy. I can't print money out of my anus. All right. I want to start with this because we have a lot of new subscribers. We just passed 500,000 a few weeks ago. And people might not know that I wouldn't say started out, but like part of what people know me for, I guess, is my reporting at Standing Rock. And when I was watching Saturday and John outside of this detention center, ICE prison, where the Gestapo troops were tear gassing and stun grenades and, protesters were vomiting. They also arrested protesters for no reason. They arrested a reporter for no reason and detained him for hours, an independent journalist, of course. It really gave me triggered me back to Standing Rock because it was almost identical to some of the things I dealt with at Standing Rock. The only difference was at Standing Rock, there wasn't all this coverage of it. There was very little coverage of Standing Rock. Aside from me, I was with the Young Turks at a time, a couple documentary filmmakers. Some indie media, but
there's hardly anyone there.
Yeah.
I mean, some showed up after everything cleared, like Vox and Vice. But to be honest, while it was going on, it was few and far between.
But I wanted to show this because, I think there's a impulse right now to think like things have suddenly got this bad. But I think part of what Status Coup does is tell you the truth. Things have always been this bad, even under Democratic presidents. It's just went from bad to like full-blown fascism now. But I want to show you these short clips from me at Standing Rock so you could see the connective tissue between the footage we were getting at these ICE prisons. Let's start with the first Standing Rock video.
So where you're seeing the police, whether it's state police, DAPL security, they're on top of a giant mountain that is where their ancestors are buried, the Native Americans.
The natives want to go and hold a peaceful prayer circle on the other bank. This is land that is theirs per the Laramie Treaty of 1851. This is a sacred burial site. But also, they're saying it's Army Corps of Engineer lands, which means on multiple levels what's happening here is illegal. This is a militarized police force up against an unarmed, peaceful prayer for people.
So I was out there, one of the first ones in the water. Maced us, says, hurts, it hurts.
I feel like I'm watching the salt mine protest with Gandhi. I mean, these people are in the water. They're freezing to death. This water is not warm.
I couldn't feel my legs. I had to get out or I was about to pass out.
Save our water!
They're trying to disperse women and children because there's a fear that the cops that are coming in on those boats over there have actual bullets.
The police are committing genocide!
I see a sniper laying right there on the ridge. You can see his rifle sticking over the edge of the ridge right there. The sniper is not holding rubber bullets, I guarantee you.
These people from the North Dakota Police Force and the United States government has lost legitimacy in every respect today.
President Obama needs to step in and intervene before we have loss of life on either side.
You guys ever see anything like this?
This is absolutely insane, man. These people are just trying to protect their families, protect their water.
It's like a row of dominoes. You got one maced over here, one maced over here, one maced over here. Did they give you warning that they were going to mace you?
Oh, not at all. Sitting there with my hands up, and I told them I love you, and the guy came and sprayed us. They sprayed me in the face for probably 6-7 seconds, and I just stood there until they were done.
Once you feel the power of these people, I mean, it brings tears to your eyes. People, they're fighting for a human right just to have clean water.
So that was about 9 years ago. That was happening around Thanksgiving. How fitting. And I wanted to show that because this was 2016, for those asking. And I wanted to show that because that day I got shot in the calf with a rubber bullet. I still have a scar. I didn't make a big thing about it. The story's not about me. Those things can kill you if you get hit close enough at a certain part of the body. I think people hear the term rubber bullets, and that's kind of like what the police and, they want you to kind of like think it's just rubber. No. It could really fuck you up or kill you, depending on where you get shot. Fortunately for me, I got shot in the calf, but I saw somebody at Standing Rock got shot in the forehead. Damn near his scalp almost came off. Another woman got hit at Standing Rock, a 21-year-old with a stun grenade. They had to literally take part of her hips and leg to create a makeshift arm. This was a 21-year-old.
Oh, my God.
Her arm had to basically be amputated. So why I say this is, I think a lot of people, and we always go through this, Zaina, it's very profitable to just say Republicans bad, Democrats good, or vice versa. This kind of stuff has been going on throughout definitely throughout American history, but throughout modern American history. Obama was president during this. He didn't do a damn thing to stop it. But it's getting a lot worse now because at least in previous instances, leaders tried to make the brutality and the fascism at least a little dignified, tried to kind of conceal it or tried to conceal it, tried to put lipstick on the pig of it. Whereas in this case, you actually have a president who the violence is the point. The cruelty is the point. The evilness is the point. And that is the difference. And that's why it's going to get a lot worse now. So moving on from Standing Rock, I want to show, before we get to John's footage from Saturday, I want to show you someone who I think's lucky to be alive. John interviewed by this ICE prison, a protester who literally got run over by ICE. He got run over by an ICE vehicle, and they just drove away. Fortunate for him, he's okay. But again, we could be talking about people actually dying soon from, now it's rubber bullets, but they're running people over. And Trump, we're going to talk about his little list targeting what he deems terrorists. These things accelerate very quickly from rubber bullets to real bullets, from calling these people Antifa to declaring them, terrorists, like Obama killed the American-born guy. Was it Al-Awlaki? I forget. Abroad. Colin, let's play the interview John did. Again, this was with someone who was run over by ICE, and they just drove off.
Hey, what the man?
Everything was going pretty well. We were protesting, we went to the front and started protesting over there. Me and a couple buddies saw one of the ICE agents pull out and go and pull off onto the road from an area that isn't a road. We went over to investigate if there was maybe a road that we didn't see. And when we got over there, another vehicle that was ICE was coming in and actually pulled in through that spot, which went over a curb, through the grass, and then hit me on the sidewalk to get into the parking lot of Orkin and try to come around. And then they hit me going about 25, 30. I was tossed in the air, called the police, and as the police were showing up, before the police showed up, ICE had already started pulling around. They had 3 cars that were rushing to where we were. Almost looked like they were trying to come to arrest us for me being hit by a vehicle. And as soon as they saw the cherries of the police coming down, they all threw their vehicles in reverse and went back behind the wall.
And the car that hit you, they took off?
No, the car that hit me came back here. When the police actually showed up to start the investigation, surprisingly, the only time throughout the entire day yesterday, they decided they needed to start shooting protesters with pepper balls, which just so happened that the wind is blowing into the facility, so it blew into the police, and before they can finish their investigation, they had to leave the facility. And so now they don't know which truck it is or anything like that. Even though the Orkin has a security camera that's right where the vehicle would have pulled, so they could have pulled the driver's license number from with that, and yeah, it doesn't look like they want to get involved with it. Honestly, yeah, I think the way that they're using ICE to ferment terror throughout the country is directly related to the fact of just the cost of living for everyday human beings is becoming ridiculous. But he can keep you mad at the left, and instead of being mad that you can't afford to live, you can be mad because some leftist doesn't want ICE breaking the law.
I like how he said that ICE were the ones who were breaking the law, because technically that's true. That's true. Masked men, no unidentified vehicles, bypassing a state law in many instances,
and
running over people.
To be clear, and I'm not painting a broad brush, but let's just call it what it is. There's a large percentage of police in this country, federal agents, who they have a God complex. They have a power complex, and they are not there to enforce law, right? So when you have someone who ran saying, punch him in the face, I'll pay your legal bills, take his coat. He did that at a rally I covered in 2016 in 10 degrees. When you have someone basically saying, he has said, don't be so nice when you throw him in the paddy wagon, right? To the Black Lives Matter protesters. This is like Christmas for these agents, because they are unleashed to basically play out their Call of Duty fantasy, where they are basically stormtroopers. And he and the Republicans and Stephen Miller are making the assaulters, which are them, out to be the victims. All their messaging now is, ICE agents are being attacked and accosted and this and that, which is, of course, not true. But this is dangerous. This guy could have been killed. I mean, the footage is kind of grainy, but he got hit 25. They were going 25, 30 miles an hour when they hit him, and he was tossed in the air. He's very, very lucky.
And you had Senator Mike Lee just 8 months ago saying to run over protesters, saying that he was going to release a bill, that he was hoping his state house would release a bill in order to legalize running over protesters. So this rhetoric is coming from the president. It's coming from members of Congress. It's coming from the very people at the top. So you're right. They feel emboldened. They feel emboldened to do this. Not only saying this, but there were multiple members of Congress that were circulating memes that were joking about running over protesters. Where do you think this comes from?
And I also want to say this, because I'm no fan of police, as most people know. Even like the normal police are offended. Even the normal police are like, okay, this is a little too far, even for the pigs, for lack of better phrasing. Colin, let's play. This is the Broadview. Where this is going on right now is right outside of Chicago, Broadview, Illinois. I think it's about 12 or so miles outside of Chicago. This is the Broadview police chief talking about that in his career, he's never been spoken to like he was by the ICE and Border Patrol agents.
I was shocked. I was shocked. I've never been spoken to by a fellow law enforcement officer in such a way.
Broadview Police Chief Thomas Mills says on top of requiring 75% of his department's manpower for crowd control outside of the ICE processing facility in the west suburban city, he was personally, verbally attacked by ICE agents during a protest.
I'm a leader of a department. I know that my office is looking at me for guidance and leadership, and I had to ensure that, I had to stay calm and not engage in such unprofessional behavior.
Chief Mills says he was walking across a skirmish on September 12th, the day this video was shot. He was called multiple expletives by an ICE agent, calling him a coward, accusing him of neglecting his duties during protests that got physical. Mills also telling the I-Team about an incident earlier this week where a pedestrian was hit by a truck near the ICE facility.
Allegedly, a ICE agent struck someone and continued on into their location. And during the course of that, while trying to gather information, there was pepper spray released while my officers right there. They felt the effects of that pepper spray where it altered their vision. They were coughing, and I was on the phone with them, and they had to leave the area so they can decontaminate themselves.
Now, Broadview's mayor has issued a blistering letter to ICE excoriating their actions, saying, quote, Broadview police officers are routinely being exposed to ICE agents' tear gas volleys, forcing them out of action until they recover. Broadview firefighters and ambulance personnel are being exposed. Nearby residents are being exposed. Beleaguered Broadview residents are begging for relief from your center's siege of our neighborhood.
Well, kind of getting a taste of your own medicine. Maybe you shouldn't do that to unarmed protesters, the police. This guy seems okay, but I'm just saying, he's like, we're being exposed to the tear gas and all this shit that we regularly spray on unarmed protesters. I digress. Who he's talking about, who got ran over, is the person John just interviewed, who's very lucky that he still has his legs and isn't paralyzed or worse. So why? I know corporate media is shitty, Zaina. Why is that guy not on CNN? Why is there not a front page new piece in the New York Times about this guy getting run over by, it seems, an ICE agent, which is typically called a hit and run because they just drove off? Like, why are we?
They're too busy reporting on the whole Comey debacle than they are paying attention to the actual fascism in the streets in our country. Typical, stereotypical mainstream media BS.
It's just crazy. It's just crazy. Basically, the limousine liberals want to focus on James Comey and, the grave threat to the rule of law of Trump going after James Comey, which I actually oppose. Mm-hmm. But, you got fucking unarmed protesters being ran over by the Gestapo troops, and we can't get a couple minutes on the evening news about that. You need, a ragtag crew like Status Coup to go show it. It's just unbelievable. I want to show, we're going to kind of start and stop. I honestly, I don't know.
This is another good time to remind people we are fundraising. So please, if you can donate, it's $5 for membership, statuscoup.com.
No, Zaina. It's not $5. 16 cents a day equals $5 a month. 16 cents a day. If you see the following footage and if you haven't joined yet and you haven't signed up for 16 cents a day, I don't know what's going on in your life. If you can't afford 16 cents a day, I'm not going to shame you. Times are tough for everyone. But if you can afford it, and maybe that means one less, shitty Starbucks cup of coffee a month or whatever you spend 16 cents a day on, I haven't seen any other outlet with this kind of footage. There were a few other independent outlets out there, Ford Fisher of News to Share, a couple others. They do great work. There's nobody doing the type of work we're doing consistently all over this country at grave risk to themselves. John Farina deserves a goddamn medal. And by the way, part of your membership, I'd like to pay him more, if I'm being honest. So please support us. We're going to start and stop a bit because it's about 7 minutes. But you tell me, okay, watching this footage and this carnage and this brutality, if this is actually being done for law and order or to distract from the fact that our president is very likely implicated in a child sex trafficking ring, either directly that he participated or he wasn't directly involved, but is helping to cover it up for various reasons. You tell me if all this isn't happening to distract from the fact that grocery bills are higher this year than they were last year, and he ran on lowering grocery prices, that he and his Republican lunatics and sycophants are cutting Medicaid, gutting federal programs. You tell me when you look
AI
at this.
is replacing our jobs.
You tell me if this has anything to do with law and order or honestly even immigration. Let's start with our coverage. This was at the Broadview Detention Center right outside of Chicago on Saturday.
All right, guys. So I'm gonna show you what I fucking look like right now. Sure, yeah. Okay. All right, just have my head back.
Yeah, hold your eye. Or, yeah, just try not to blink.
Okay.
Good?
Yeah,
Okay.
thank you. All right, guys. I think I'm all right. Let's get back out there. Everybody's suffering right now.
15 cents a day. You'll keep us on the ground, covering the important stories the corporate media covers up. So I want to stop it there for a second. You tell me, Zaina, do you see any terrorists out there? Because I see unarmed 20-somethings getting tackled to the ground, having stun grenades fired within point-blank range of them, a fucking thunderstorm of tear gas. And from what John and Tina told me, because they've both been tear gassed a lot over the last few years at various things, this type of tear gas that they're using is even more toxic and more damaging to your lungs, whatever the chemicals they're using. Trump is saying we're going after left-wing terrorists and, Antifa and this, that. There was nobody armed out there among the protesters. And they were behind an illegal fence that ICE and Border Control constructed. Because let's remember, they're protesting out there because they're imprisoning immigrants without due process behind the fence. But all this talk of terrorism and left-wing lunacy and all the MAGA sycophants buying this bullshit, some of them in the chat, I don't see. The only terrorists I see are the stormtroopers tackling, body slamming, firing stun grenades, tear gas, and rubber bullets, by the way, at point-blank range at just protesters. I mean, even if you are a Republican or MAGA, I thought you're all about the amendments. The First Amendment, the Second Amendment, take my gun over my dead, cold hands. So the First Amendment doesn't matter anymore to you? If you protest, you're now a terrorist? And it's really alarming.
Doesn't matter because that's what these people are protesting: the lack of due process, the rounding of people up.
Yeah. And it's really alarming, Zaina. I'm a lefty, but I have some friends that are more conservative or this and that. They like their low taxes or whatnot, and I get along with them. But what triggers me is these people when I see like, oh yeah, I voted for this. I voted for ICE. I voted for the deportations. Okay, but do you realize that Germans in the road to the Holocaust, in the rising up of Hitler's authoritarianism, they were getting a kick out of, segregating Jews away from the rest of the population, making Jews wear stars. They were getting a kick out of the otherizing of Jews. And, the violence, the street beatings of Jews before we eventually moved to transportation on trains to gas chambers.
And let me remind you, Jordan, all of that was legalized under the government. So this idea that somehow Trump has passed an executive order or that somehow Congress is allowing this to happen, that it's okay, because in your mind it's legal, doesn't make it right. Every single thing that Hitler did in Germany was written law.
Right. And I want to make something clear before I play the rest of the video. And I'm taking the glasses off for this. And John said this in part of the video. You know, you just see what's on camera. You don't see what's not on camera because, you know, a cameraman can't have three eyes. But as John explained, there was a whole lot of local press, national press there. Way the fuck back. Way the fuck back. Now, not going to shame all of them, you know, whatever. Everyone has their limits. You don't, you know, you got kids. You don't want to get shot at, this and that. Whatever. I'm not going to castigate them. I think you're in the wrong business if you're not willing to take the risk, but whatever. Yep. There were very few journalists in the trenches like John was, in the trenches like Tina typically is for us when she's covering this fucking fascism. And it's risky. I mean, the tear gas, he didn't know his foot was burning. He didn't know if a pepper ball had exploded in his foot, which could cause a lot of problems. So
that was John who had to have water put into his eyes because his face was beet red, and that was John, right? Yeah.
And he kept going. So I am begging at this point, if you're not yet supporting us, please take out the credit card, statuscoup.com/join, because I want to pay John more and he deserves it. We have a new producer we recently hired, Colin, behind running the live stream right now. He's been with me for a long time. Myself, you know, as my newborn gets older, I'll be back out there. We have contributors like Zaina, Ron, we'd like to use more, pay more. But, you know, we don't have funding from Palantir. We don't have funding from Lockheed Martin or ICE or United Healthcare. Our funding comes from you.
Or Chorus from the DNC.
Yes. Wouldn't that be nice? Chorus. So in the grand, you know, mixed salad bowl of, you know, left media and all the emails you get, because I get them too, you know, we're fighting democracy and, you know, all these leftist outlets begging you for money. Most of them are just sitting in a cubicle, you know, or a studio bloviating. Some of them I even like, but very few are actually, none are actually out there on the ground in the trenches like us. So I am really asking you, we need to grow, and we need to grow quick, because the acceleration of this fascism is growing very quickly. And right now we don't have the resources to cover it in the way I think it needs to be covered. I would like to send John to Portland next. Like I said, we just hired a new reporter. I would like him to do some, you know, we don't want to just do rapid response crisis covering only protests, but if that's what's going on right now, you need to see it. You can't fight this if you're not seeing it.
National Guard are being sent to Memphis. They're being sent, like you said, to Portland.
And by the way,
accelerating extremely fast.
By the way, why this is important is a large swath of the country is not seeing that, because you're not seeing it, you know, for the boomers who watch evening news, not all boomers, a lot of our audience is boomers, you know, ABC is not getting this, and they don't really want to show this. CBS, ABC, they don't want to show like the full-on brutality. They want to focus on Comey and, you know, the horse race. And
did these news organizations reach out to us for our video and for clippings to show on the night?
Oh, virtually never. And by the way, earlier today, I sent out this footage for licensing to ABC, CBS, NBC, BBC, New York Post, New York Daily News, a whole lot of outlets. Just on the merits, you'd think, hey, they want to pick it up. You know, they have quite large budgets, particularly the broadcast networks. Not one has responded yet. Isn't that interesting? Not one.
So, and they weren't behind the scenes. If they were already there, back way behind the line, why wouldn't they want footage up and close? It's a good question.
It is.
So that's why it's so important to support organizations, news organizations like Status Coup, to support Status Coup, because we're actually there on the ground taking those risks. And there's a lot that comes with that.
Absolutely. And thank you for the donations. $20 donation from Janet. Very important work. Stay strong and keep going. I'll donate more when I can. Thank you all, Status Coup. And a $25 donation from Lynn. Thank you, Lynn. And yeah, like I said, I mean, donations, we appreciate it, but we do need and really hope for your paid memberships. So you could sign up monthly at $5 a month, $10 a month, $20 a month. You would think that there's a lot of this kind of reporting in a country with growing fascism, but there's really not. And, you know, reporters are being intimidated in many ways, but we're going to stay out there as long as you help us do it. So please, please chip in if you can, and I'll shout you out every time somebody signs up. Let's keep going because that was just some of it. It gets worse.
All right, they arrested a reporter apparently.
He's a piece of shit.
All right, so they arrested a member of the press.
Don't say anything, just stay calm. You arrested a reporter. I need to speak to your PIO. Final question, say about it. Bridget, I need a sit rep.
I got you. Back up. Stand by, going 15, stand by. Stand by, going 15 on hard north. What did I do? Let me get up. Go, back up.
Why is he being detained?
You're back. Look at them.
LUKAS BORJA. I did literally nothing. He's just very upset. November 24th, 2003.
Hey, did they tell you why you're being detained?
Nope. Just grab me. I didn't even do it. I didn't even enter the street.
Why is he being detained? Why is he being detained? Why is he being detained? Why are you guys arresting U.S. citizens? Where Patrol get to do
Release him! Release him! Free him!
Get his name!
They got it. They got it.
Why is he being detained? Name and birthday for the MLG! Name and birthday for the MLG! Cowards! Fucking cowards! Cowards!
For November 24th, 2003. Being unjustly detained by federal police, illegally deployed in our city.
You're a fucking mess! You don't know what you're doing!
Guys, you're not going to find this coverage anywhere. All right? So make sure you are subscribed. If you can, become a member. StatusCoup.com/join. Sign up $5 a month. I'm here on the ground everywhere I can be.
There's just so much. I don't even know where to start. First, I want to start with, do you know how hard it is with holding a camera to run and hold the camera still?
Yeah, I do.
The fact that the fact that John was running and sprinting and that camera was basically still. I mean, that was just an incredible shot that he got to show you what was going on.
Tina, he ran toward what was happening instead of away from it. So
exactly. So kudos to John. He's too modest. He won't brag about himself. So I'll play him up. Secondly, you know what's amazing to me, Zaina? I mean, politicians, Democrats, Republicans, they're all hypocrites. That's a price of entry. But that's just by birth. They're all full of shit. They're all hypocrites, even the better ones. These are the small government people. This is the small government party, right? The fucking MAGA clapping seals in the chat. Well, weren't they harassing the police? These aren't police. These are federal agents.
You can walk up to a cop and say F you. That's legal.
Yes. These are federal agents illegally deployed against the governor of the state's wishes and the mayor's wishes. You're not God if you're a police officer, nor ICE. If somebody, says something negative to you or taunts you, that doesn't give you a license to tear gas them. Maybe to the clapping MAGA seals it does, because you love power and you love authority. Yes, authority. Yes, I want to suck authority's dick. Excuse my French.
You're not wrong.
Tell me what to do. Yes, hit me again. This is not small government. This is the biggest government you could ever find. You are, and Michelle and I, our producer, did a video about this. This is actually, I hate to trigger you, kind of similar to some communist dictatorships, what you're seeing.
Well, Chris Garrett asked if it was IOF tactics, and yes, it would be, Chris.
Absolutely. Israeli offensive forces. Yes. This is like the people clapping for this. What are you clapping for? Forget immigration for a second, which this is not even about. You're clapping for just like a bunch of roided up high school jocks who, fucking have needle dicks and couldn't really do anything else. So they just got into anything that they could carry around guns and fucking act like G.I. Joes. You're clapping for them to go around and terrorize unarmed people and to arrest people for no reason. By the way, they arrested a reporter. And for the person in the chat who's
untrained cosplayers. The amount of training that ICE agents have been getting historically is terrible, even compared to the limited training that a lot of our police force gets. ICE, they bring in very brief training and then they put them out there, and very little training in the field, very little knowledge of law parameters, and they're just like go crazy. This is pretend like you're in Call of Duty.
Yeah, exactly. So I got news for you. This isn't making America safe. It's not making America great. It's not even about immigration. This is just literally essentially making America a Call of Duty game so that Donald Trump could get his kicks. So Stephen Miller, who I think is mentally unwell, and a lot of the fucking, fascist brigade surrounding Trump could basically live out their fever dream of kind of like America becoming an authoritarian dictatorship, Christian nationalist cult. I mean, that's really what's going on. And if you think it's anything other than that, if you think it's about, applying the law, even if
the border.
Right. I mean, and this is going to escalate to the point where people are going to get killed. Mm-hmm. People are going to get killed. And Trump doesn't care about that morally. And he also doesn't care about it because he knows that he's immune because of the Supreme Court. So, again, I'll ask you, do you see any other journalistic outlets getting that kind of footage, putting themselves at that risk? And that's just some of it. We have more footage we haven't even posted. So please, please, please support us as a paying member, statuscoup.com/join. If you're already a member, we appreciate super chats, donations, whatever you could do, because it's expensive. We got to pay, the flight out there, hotel. He's been out there for 5 days. Rent a car. Then you got to pay for food, equipment. He just had to buy a laptop because he couldn't transfer the footage from his phone. The files were too big. That cost almost $1,000. Now we hired a new reporter who's meeting with him today. So all this stuff costs money. And I'm asking you, if you want to wake up the masses here, if you don't want to just let fascism grow and breed unchallenged, please support us for as low as $5 a month. I also want to show Zaina. Trump, he went on like a truth social spree or whatever he does at like 2 a.m. But he was sharing and enthusiastically reposting this clip about showing the federal takeover in Chicago is ramping up. Again, this is the small government people, right? But this is a tweet somebody wrote, "Wow, the federal takeover in Chicago is ramping up. Many U.S. Border Patrol agents were spotted roaming the sidewalks of North Michigan. Border Patrol is also present in the Chicago River." Can we play that video, Colin?
This is a public hearing. Fucking home.
So it was actually a different one, but showing basically federal agents in full military garb just roaming around downtown Chicago. I don't know if you have that one, Colin.
Border Patrol.
And you could hear people saying, what the hell is going on? Why is this Call of Duty level brigade just walking down the streets of downtown? The answer, for no reason. Just for show. Scare people, intimidate people. Give kind of the needle dick MAGA crew who get a kick out of this authoritarianism, something to joy about, which is why I wanted to read the tweet. Wow, the federal takeover in Chicago is ramping up. Many U.S. Border Patrol agents spotted roaming the sidewalks of North Michigan Avenue. Border Patrol is also present in the Chicago River, and local Democrats are furious. Stay safe. I mean, Zaina, this takes owning the libs to a whole new fucking level. The stupidity of these MAGA people, and not all are stupid. You know, I have disagreements with many of you, but like, you're literally cheering for what you claim you are against. You're literally cheering for the biggest of all big governments. You're literally cheering for essentially government tyranny. You know, people say, the MAGA says, I need my Second Amendment to fight against, you know, a government coming in my door and knocking my door down and take my guns. What the fuck do you think this is? Fighting against a tyrannical government. What do you think this is? This isn't owning the libs. This isn't fighting the radical left. They're literally trying to create a fascist takeover of the country while you clap for it.
But you know, people are waking up to it. They're going to push and push, and people, you know, people didn't expect to see military, actual literal National Guard roaming around in their streets. And if this administration thinks that the majority of Americans are on board, and I'm going to tell those in the chat supporting it, they're not. They're not. A lot of people are tapped out. A lot of people haven't been paying attention because everything's expensive. Most people have to work almost 2 jobs or more than 2 jobs to survive. It's not an excuse, but they weren't paying attention. As soon as they see military roaming their streets, they will, sadly. And that's what's happening. That's what's happening. America's turning a leaf. The people that haven't seen it before are starting to see this. But that's why this kind of work we're doing is so important, because people have to see what's happening if they don't see it with their own eyes in their own town yet, because it's coming.
And I also want to point out the clip that Colin showed of the Border Patrol, ICE beating up protesters. Trump shared that, saying Border Patrol will take no nonsense. Reminder, this tough guy MAGA loves, this is a draft dodging fucking loser. He got out of serving in Vietnam. Trump did. This is who you're clapping like seals for. He did not serve at all. He dodged Vietnam, just like W did. Okay. He's never fought a day in his life. His idea of fighting is stiffing his contractors. Okay. Or cheating on his wives, whatever. But this like tough guy, like, yeah, you know, we're going to take no nonsense, beat him up. This man has never fought a day in his life. His bone spurs got him out. I also want to show, this was a tweet in a string of rapid fire reposts tonight. President Trump amplified messages saying, Islam will suffocate the United States. The Great Replacement theory is real, and Adam Schiff should be in prison. So, like, all this violence and brutality on one end, while the 4chan lunacy of who's in the White House and the people around him, like Stephen Miller, this is literally like 4chan fever dreams.
It is. It is. It's
out.
4chan. It's 4chan being pushed out on official U.S. And you know, the DHS is tweeting the same kind of rhetoric. The Department of Homeland Security.
Oh, we got it. Oh, we got that too. Colin, let's post. Hold on. This was the video. We'll also read and tweet. POTUS, Trump, and Secretary Noem have the law on their side, and they're here to bring law and order to the sanctuary cities where leadership has routinely failed the Americans who live there. We made 30 arrests of rioters over the weekend who were completely out of control. To every single anti-ICE coward who so much as lays a hand on our federal law enforcement, you will be hunted down. You will be found and prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. And that is the official Department of Homeland Security Twitter account. And they post, of course, a Fox News video. They post a Fox News video from an interview Let's play that one, Colin.
It's absolutely ridiculous. President Trump and Secretary Noem have the law on their side, and they're here to bring law and order to these sanctuary cities where leadership has routinely failed the Americans who live there. We see with our own ears and eyes absolute chaos going on. We look at Chicago. We made about 30 arrests of rioters over the weekend who are completely out of control. We will continue to do that until we restore law and order. But Harris, just to set the scene here, when these ICE facilities are under siege, who is in these ICE facilities? It is the worst of the worst criminals. It is drug traffickers, child rapists, violent criminals. It doesn't make any sense that these protesters are trying to get these individuals out of these facilities and to disrupt operations. So Secretary Noem and President Trump, and we have a whole of government approach to make sure that these cities are safe again.
Just a reminder, because we have also led the charge covering Trump's ICE Gestapo torture prison, known as Alligator Alcatraz. Everything she said there is a lie. I mean, you just look at Alligator Alcatraz. This is from the Miami Herald. Alligator Alcatraz, hundreds at Alligator Alcatraz have no criminal charges, Miami Herald learns. So that's basically 2/3 of the prisoners who have been abducted and held in a fucking hot, infested prison camp in Florida have no criminal charges. None. And even those with criminal charges, they're not like violent criminal charges. Same goes for a lot of these ICE facilities. Most people do not have any criminal convictions. I think of all the people they've detained, like 7 or 8% have criminal charges. And then when you look underneath the hood, most of it's not violent. And by the way, when you look at polls, which Zaina and you are a laser with polls, most of the people who supported Trump's immigration policies actually supported it to go after actual criminals.
Absolutely.
Not all of this.
The majority of the country do not support going after non-criminals, and specifically, most people supported only going after violent criminals. Those are the ones who supported it. And when asked about due process, the majority of all Americans say that they believe that migrants should be given due process, which obviously, if they're sweeping people off the street and claiming just ad hoc that they're, sexual predators and murderers with no evidence, no trial, and imprisoning them, it's absolutely insane. And sometimes in sites that aren't even here in the States, but that are offshore black sites, essentially similar to what Gitmo was.
And also, I want to point out, John, our cameraman, sent this a couple minutes ago. When she points out, they just say things and they don't care if it's true or not. And even when video exists to debunk it, they just go on anyway. It's just repeat the lie, repeat the lie, repeat the lie. That's the entire government right now. Just lie as much as you breathe, and facts be damned. But they're pointing out that they arrested 30 rioters, and this is the same shit that they tried to stick on protesters at Standing Rock and Cop City with, inciting riots and domestic terrorism when they were literally just protesting. Well, they arrested a veteran and are claiming, if you could show the tweet, Colin, on Saturday, September 27th, U.S. Air Force veteran Dana Briggs was arrested outside of Broadview ICE detention facility. He's being charged with assaulting a federal officer, which is a felony. Well, let's play the video. Who was assaulted there? If you could play that, Colin.
Oh! Get the fuck out of here! Jesus, man. Yeah, no, look at Rambo, just itch! Just itch! Don't get around me, guys, because Rambo's got my gun. Right now. Move off the roadway. Move off the roadway. Get back. Get out of the way. Get back. Hey. Don't push him. Get off.
Are you okay?
You all right?
Are you okay?
I got it. You
Get back! He got that on camera. He did not do anything.
Do not impede. You will be arrested.
He did not do
anything. He did nothing.
You guys just be human like everyone else here.
Because they is monsters. They get off on this shit.
You recognize that?
That motherfucker
Do
hard
not
right now.
impede or interfere. You will be arrested.
Why are you doing this? You're just
Your information more cleaner this time. It's because y'all actually got somebody, huh? That is crazy.
Let him go!
Oh my gosh, the police. We were looking for y'all.
Let's go, collapse it in.
Just like y'all practiced this morning. Do it. Do it now. Just like y'all practiced.
So on video, you see that the crime that veteran committed was basically, I think he called one of the officers Rambo and was basically calling him out for acting like a bunch of
Rambo dipshit, which I think
Right.
is amazing.
Right. And then he was assaulted, and they're charging him with a felony assaulting an officer. I mean, it's right on video. It's the opposite. Facts be damned. And I'm sure a judge will.
But don't believe your own eyes in this day and age, Jordan. But look, you notice the faces of the men on the front lines. The way I think cosplaying is a perfect way to put it. There were 40 of them and one elderly veteran. They were surrounding him as if this was the middle of a war zone in, Fallujah, or as if this is like Apocalypse Now.
And John has that footage too. We're going to go through it, so we'll make a video out of it. But again, I'm asking you, if you want to cover this, and if you want to see more of this, not just here, this is going on in Portland. It might be going on soon in Memphis. We were just in DC covering some of this insanity.
Oh, and Jordan, in Memphis, there's protests that are striking up because of the Grok facility that's being built there, that is polluting their air, polluting their water, and we were hoping to be able to cover some of that as well. But it's really interesting to me that Trump chooses Memphis next when we know that there are protests brewing citywide in Memphis over this facility belonging to Elon Musk.
It's crazy. The whole thing is crazy. But again, we need your support. I'm not beyond begging. I won't beg corporations. I won't beg oligarchs. I will beg the people. Please support us. It's expensive to be out there. There's a whole lot of YouTube is just one giant fucking cesspool.
And we don't have any ads. We don't have any sponsors. We're not out here pitching, supplements to you or Birch Gold or whatever. So
Yes. So
it's only you guys.
The bottom line is, I don't think it's a lot to ask for real living, breathing journalism, particularly in the trenches on the front line. $5 a month. That's all we're asking. 16 cents a day. I'll shout you out the more people that sign up. Before we show more videos, I also want to read, which to me, again, the MAGA SEALs who love this shit, who are total fucking hypocrites because they love big government just when it's used to unleash holy hell on innocent people. They also claim to, have a boner for the vets and love the vets, but don't mind homeless veterans, don't mind veterans being attacked right there on camera. I mean, MAGA, seriously. The things you claim to stand for, you're not really living your value, living your virtues, shall we say. But I want to read this. This is from journalist Ken Klippenstein, because this should scare the fucking shit out of you. He obtained basically new directives from Trump. Trump's NSPM 7 labels common beliefs as terrorism indicators. This is literally what North Korea does, folks. Just different phrasing. New directive targets anti-Christian, anti-American, and anti-capitalism opinions. This is from journalist Ken Klippenstein. With the mainstream media distracted by the made-for-TV drama of James Comey's indictment, Trump has signed a little-noticed national security directive identifying anti-Christian and anti-American views as indicators of radical left violence. I guess separation of church and state is dead and buried, huh? Called National Security Presidential Memorandum 7, it's being referred to as NPM 7 by administration insiders. Quote, This is the first time in American history that there is an all-of-government effort to dismantle left-wing terrorism, Trump's Homeland Security advisor, Stephen Miller said, referring to this issuance. To the extent that major media noticed the directive at all, they incorrectly labeled it as an executive order, like this week's designation of Antifa as a domestic terrorist organization. It's hard to overstate how much different NSPM 7 is from the over 200 executive orders Trump has frantically signed since coming back to office. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but I want to give you the key elements here. The Trump administration.
I will disagree a little bit with Ken here. I have an article coming out about this. It is the next building block of the over 200 executive orders that Trump has signed over the, I mean, Ken is right, but it is the next building block. It is where they were going with this. And there is wording, and I have mapped it all out. There is wording that has set the premise for this language in previous executive orders that he has. And it's very alarming because its wording is, I think it was about 12 to 13 executive orders, from the orders that allow the National Guard on the ground, to the orders that are attacking college campuses, to the orders dismantling DEI. All of these have layers of being able to buttress this right here. And that's part of what's so dangerous.
And I want to read some of this so you know. NSPM 7 directs a new national strategy to just, quote, disrupt any individuals or groups that, quote, foment political violence, including, quote, before they result in violent political acts. In other words, they're targeting pre-crime, to reference Minority Report. The Trump administration isn't only targeting organizations or groups, but even individuals and entities whom NSPM 7 says could be identified by any of the following indicators of violence: anti-Americanism, anti-capitalism, anti-Christianity, support for the overthrow of the U.S. government, extremism on migration, extremism on race, extremism on gender, hostility towards those who hold traditional American views on family, hostility towards those who hold traditional American views on religion, and hostility towards those who hold traditional views on morality.
What is hostility? Could it be disagreeing? Could it be disagreeing with someone? That's so vague.
A tweet?
Yeah.
A tweet today, or a tweet that they find from 5 years ago. Who knows? And also, if you want to go through to the letter of this absurd, dangerous directive, those who support the overthrow of the United States government, well, I mean, there's a lot of Native Americans out there that support that. Rightly so, if you ask me, because the government has basically put them in, barely livable concentration camps called reservations for the last several hundred years. So by the letter of this, it's pretty ambiguous whether you could label Native Americans as terrorists, because a lot of them support not the violent overthrow, but the overthrow of the United States government. And
traditional American view on morality isn't that great of a bar considering our moral history.
And I got to tell you, I mean, this is where we get to the Democrats here, because we're not going to, this is not a safe space. So if you're just like a MSNBC refugee, because we have some people who got sick of MSNBC and came here, we're not here to clap for the Democrats either. We're here to tell you the truth. Although Democrats have not exercised this level of fascism, let's be clear. The fact that there's even a discussion about negotiating to avoid a government shutdown is a political crime. The government needs to be shut down. Yes, it will hurt people. But there comes times in a nation's history where if you don't use the one lever of power you have, which in this case the Democrats could shut down the government, to unnormalize fascism. You are normalizing fascism by negotiating to keep the government running. You are normalizing fascism by treating these fascists like negotiating partners. You are normalizing illegal acts. You are normalizing the government illegally, the military being deployed to police citizens. You are normalizing the attack on the First Amendment. You are normalizing the attack on freedom of press. And this is not a time, and we cover Democratic Party corruption. And we will continue to cover it, because just because Trump is a fascist doesn't mean like, yeah, the answer is put Gavin Newsom in there so we could have another corporate neoliberal asshole who will usher in the next fascist lunatic.
Who will
corporate
fail to undo anything that Trump has done.
Right. Corporate neoliberal fucking corrupt corporate neoliberal assholes like Schumer and Biden and Obama and Pelosi, even those who might like some of them, they might not be as bad as this, but they certainly enabled this.
I got a story for you, Jordan. Just a really quick one, because we covered this. Do you remember how, you know, Biden was supposed to undo Trump's previous outstanding crackdown, quote unquote, on domestic terrorism, but instead Biden ended up expanding the definition to having criticism of the government, amongst other things, that then they utilized for RICO charges and terrorism charges against Stop Cop City protesters under Biden's admin. So instead of reversing Trump's fascism, Biden actively expanded it. So it's very important that we maintain exactly what Jordan's talking about, and that's pressure on the Democratic Party, and we don't give them some free pass because Trump is in office, because they have a history of enabling these fascists.
So the bottom line is, yes, there's going to be people harmed with a government shutdown, and I'm not in a position, I will survive, so I say that from a privileged place, but at the end of the day, this is about, I usually don't even like this term. This truly is about harm reduction, because the greater harm is basically normalizing fascism, emboldening a wannabe dictator. When you are dealing with people who basically want to do away with separation of church and state, which is what that document is talking about. That document is literally shitting on the separation of church and state and essentially calling for this to be a Christian feudal nation. Okay. Well, I'm not down with that.
But you notice there was only one religion under the anti. It didn't say anyone that has animosity toward religious peoples. It only said anti-Christianity.
And by the way, as we speak, it's too rich. The very platform we're on, YouTube, reaches $24.5 million settlement with Trump for suspending his account. So this is ABC settles with Trump over reporting accurate information that a judge found him liable for rape. CBS settled with Trump. Now YouTube is settling for suspending his account after he tried to overthrow the government. I mean, it's just the list go. I'm sure at some point, if I get big enough, he'll come after me. We're not big enough yet. But if we get bigger, he'll come after us too. So, and by the way, for you clapping MAGA seals, enjoy it now, because if and when Democrats retake power, they might not do it as fascistic as this, but they'll keep some of this bad stuff in that Trump and the Republicans have ushered in and use it against you. Wait till they come after Fox News. Wait till they come after Alex Jones. Wait till they come after, I don't know, Turning Point USA. Because when the shoe's on the other foot, you're not going to like it. And you're going to be screaming, holy fucking tyranny. But Zaina, I'll tell you, all of this NSPM 7 basically does away with the right to protest, both physically, but even like a hashtag protest. Why do you think the government is basically in league with Palantir to surveil digital, not just physical protests, but to surveil all digital activity? So you could get a knocking on your door from the Trump administration and their NSPM 7 unit because of something you tweeted. Hell, knock on your door because of something on your car, a bumper sticker, because the surveillance state is getting a lot worse. And
or something you said to a fellow coworker, somebody at your church. This is modern. For anyone that's old enough to know what McCarthyism is or have learned about McCarthyism, this is modern McCarthyism, if not beyond it. It's the same thing that they did when they scoured the country for communist, quote unquote, and socialist. And guess what? Many of the people that they rounded up were neither. Many of the people that were blacklisted, removed from their jobs, jailed, were neither. Because this is how this thing works. Neighbors reporting on neighbors, family reporting on family, workplaces reporting on employees. And now we have social media on top of it.
I want to read this one from our Nadia, a member for 19 months. NSPM 7 prescribes trans people.
Yep.
Several of the
You're right.
criteria are commonly said to apply to trans people by the right. Dems always cave. That's a great point. By the way, you also have Clarence Thomas, the Supreme Court justice, literally saying, we shouldn't rule based on precedent anymore. Like, what the whole fucking Supreme Court is supposed to be about? What the legal system is supposed to be about? Precedent? Legal some precedent is kind of fucked up. So we should just kind of make it up as we go along. I don't know, like they did in the...
I need a refund on the 3 classes that I took in college on Supreme Court precedents.
And by the way, that's how they did the year 2000 when they stole the election for Bush. That was the first time the Supreme Court said this ruling cannot be used in future rulings because there was no precedent and it wasn't based on law. God. Who can keep up?
NSPM 7 also mentioned gender. So what's that talking about? That's so vague. If you criticize, if you say that the majority of violent crimes in America are carried out by white males, would that put you on the list? Would it put you on the list as a transgender person just for existing?
To be clear, Zaina, I think it's really important not to get full of myself because, not everything I say is important. I think what I'm about to say is very important. And anyone watching should understand this, okay? Why this is so dangerous? Most of this is not actually coming from Donald Trump. I don't think everyone understands that. Donald Trump is not intelligent enough. Donald Trump doesn't really have enough of a core ideology to push most of this. Donald Trump was basically a fair weather Democrat about 25 years ago. He was a pro-choice guy. He voted for Democrats in the past. He was just, a corrupt sleazeball, basically. He's become more extreme. But Donald Trump doesn't have core ideology other than have attention. He's a textbook narcissist, megalomaniac. What you have to understand is Trump isn't intelligent enough. There's been reporting. They basically have to make his intelligence briefings into bullet points because he can't read. Most of this is coming from literal psychotic fascists like Stephen Miller. The keys to the government. Trump might be the front man in front of the camera, but the keys to the government since the beginning of Trump 2.0 have been handed to people that do know what they're doing and have core crazy ideologies.
The techno bros, the Peter Thiel cult, Curtis Yarvin, it's those guys. It's not even as much the Heritage Foundation Project 2025. It's still out there. It's still looming. This is beyond. You guys have to understand. This is beyond Project 2025. This is going into territory of someone like a Curtis Yarvin who literally said, we don't need democracy. We need a monarchy. And who was a direct advisor to our current vice president as well as our current president. That's crazy. A man that actively went on TYT a year and a half ago and said, we need a monarchy. Said remove all government employees, said that ICE should be our Gestapo police force, essentially.
And I want to show this. This is from ICE's official Twitter, and I threw a ton at Colin before his live stream. So apologies to him and the audience if we're not getting stuff up right away.
And help donate to cover Colin too, because he's amazing and does amazing work. Colin,
but this is from the official ICE Twitter account. Tell me that this isn't a nativist, fucking federal, this is like the John Birch Society tweeting, but it's ICE. Answer the call to service. Defend your family. Defend your neighbor. Defend the homeland. Notice that has nothing to do with immigration. This is injecting into the right wing's blood. This is injecting into the Fox News viewers' fucking blood. Just nativism and hysteria and bigotry and racism and nationalism. Defend your family from what? What are you defending your family from? Is the mother
It's also painting this as we are in a war on the ground in our own homeland, within the borders of the United States. This is saying within the borders of the United States, we're in a war. That's the subtext. We're in a war, and you have to defend your neighbors, your family, your homeland. They don't outright say it, but this is 4chan memery, like we talked about earlier.
I want to show you. This happened at Federal Plaza in New York City, I think last week. We weren't there because John was in Chicago covering this. Is this what they're telling people to defend yourself against? Literally throwing a fucking woman to the ground for no reason. Let's play that video, Colin. I thought maybe there's kind of one shining crack in the armor here because that ICE agent was temporarily fired until I saw this afternoon, Jack Prosobiec, another fucking white supremacist alt-righter. I'm told this ICE officer has been returned to full active duty after a complete footage review, which shows he did nothing wrong.
See, don't believe your own eyes, Jordan. Don't believe what you just saw with your own eyes. Full video review as if there's something more to show.
Right.
We saw nothing wrong. And something that makes me angry about that clip, and I understand to a certain extent, but there's all those security guards, and you could tell some of them had empathy for the woman, but nobody stepped in to help her or to stop this guy.
Well,
and I understand that, violence can come to them, maybe, criminality, and that's part of the problem. ICE can do anything. People are afraid to touch them. They're afraid to stop them. And they're afraid to intervene when this kind of violence happens.
Well, why would they stop? They don't want to. They don't want to jeopardize their $50,000 bonus.
Mm-hmm.
You remember when you keep hearing, how are we going to pay for these things? How are we going to pay for healthcare for Americans? How are we going to pay for education for Americans? How are we going to pay for?
We were desolate about that a lot the last decade, Jordan.
Oh, we got $50,000 for ICE. You sign up for ICE, you're getting $50,000. They're actually saying we'll cancel your student loan debt if you sign up for ICE. So apparently you could cancel student loan debt to incentivize domestic terrorism against the people, but not to help people not be debt slaves for the rest of their life.
Well, it's like Colin and I said before the show started, this isn't the federal workers program we were asking for.
And right. And I also want to point out to the Clapping MAGA SEALs. And again, folks, we need your support. We got a few member signups. We need more people to sign up as members. Lickety split. I'm being direct. We really need your support. Okay. John is on the ground. But we need your support because he's staying on the ground in Chicago. We might send him to Portland next. But if you want actual living, breathing, on the ground, in the trenches journalism that's actually going to show you the fucked up shit happening, not the sanitized version you see elsewhere, please, statuscoup.com/join. I think we should be getting hundreds of people every day. And that's why we try to make it as low as possible, $5 to $10 a month. So if you can't afford $5 to $10 a month, no shame. Everybody's got a tight budget these days. But if you can support it, which comes down to 16 cents a day, is $5 a month. Please, we believe in walking the walk, not just talking the talk. There's a lot of outlets that send out fundraiser emails. We're defending democracy and we're fighting the fascists. They're not out there. Not everyone can be out there, and not everyone wants to be out there. And there's value in some outlets that do unique commentary and report stuff. But it's a whole different level to be out there in the trenches, you know, giving the microphone back to the people and showing you the ugly truth of what's happening. I also want to show you. Look at them chasing. They chased a delivery guy in Chicago. Literally chased him while he was on a bike for saying "fuck Trump." Show that.
One second, I might have missed that.
Okay. Smash that like button. Share this live stream.
The more I see them, just like Tina Desiree Berg when she was filming the police officers in the park, I forget the name of the park. A police or ICE officers, one of the ICE officer jumps out of the back of the truck and he fumbles his gun and drops it. We've seen there's many videos where ICE agents have just pulled their gun out and are just waving it at random people standing around. They fall. They're incompetent. The more
Zana,
and more videos I see, the more and more it just feels like cosplaying. These people have no training. They have no experience. They don't care. They're all jacked up on, I don't know, testosterone and fascism, I guess.
Let's play. Literally chase this guy.
But he gets away. Which I hope he has a wonderful day.
I'm sure he'll be charged as a domestic terrorism by dinner. I mean, it's insanity. And it's like so stupid. You want to laugh, but you don't know whether to laugh or cry.
But it's not actually funny. And what's the deal with the one guy in the white cowboy hat? Is this Wyatt Earp?
And this is
the wild, wild west out there in Chicago.
And they're saying they're going to give these people $50,000 signing bonuses. So you can't afford groceries. You can't afford childcare. You can't afford rent. You can't afford a mortgage. You can't afford to get out of your mom's basement. You can't afford to your skyrocketing electric bill because they're building data centers everywhere, which is stealing your water and contaminating your water in communities. But the government can afford to give ICE more money than most other countries' militaries have.
Full militaries. And more money than any federal department within our government, any federal law enforcement department within our government.
And by the way, you made a great point, Zaina, because even if they're not going to intentionally start shooting people, how fucking amateur these clowns are, they could just start fucking firing their guns accidentally, or their guns could misfire accidentally because they don't know what they're doing. Most of them aren't trained. So people can get hurt even by accident when you have a bunch of untrained fucking circus clowns walking around with bazooka guns.
And being fed constant propaganda. I encourage anyone to just go look at the Department of Homeland Security's page on X and see the kinds of insane things they were posting. I don't know if you covered this or not, but they posted a video last week of a Pokemon theme song. Yeah. It just absolute. It's childish. It's dystopian. It's cruel, dehumanizing. It's stupid, just on the face stupid. And this is the propaganda. If this is what they're posting, imagine what kind of propaganda they're feeding these guys on the back end, and what kind of propaganda draws them in to come in and want to participate and be a Gestapo arresting these people.
It's crazy. And I'll say one more
Kidnapping
time.
People in many cases.
I'll say one more time before I got to go. Listen, I could do 7 hours just focusing on Trump, fascists. But it is very important right now. There is, at least right now, there needs to be a full frontal pressure campaign. The Democrats need to shut the government down. This is a DEFCON, whatever, DEFCON 5? No, DEFCON, which is the worst DEFCON? My brain is a mush. I don't know. This is a DEFCON situation. And Chuck Schumer shouldn't have extended the government months ago. They should have shut it down then. Look how much worse it has gone, how much worse it got because you negotiated and you normalized fascists. You have to shut the government down because it's either hurt people now in the short term or create a fascist country that even if Democrats took back power, and this isn't me clapping like seals for Democrats, I don't tell people how to vote. But the bottom line is the Democrats are not going to just reverse all of this. There will be things that Trump and his fascist goons put in place that is kept because Democrats say they're against it, but quietly they're not.
Absolutely.
Right now, the focus needs to be, yes, on fighting Trump, but demanding that Democrats do not negotiate with this man and shut down the government until these illegal acts stop. You want to talk about
an act of courage. I want to remind everyone this make excuses for them and saying that they need to play some 4D political chess in order to get things done and work across the aisle and yada, yada, yada. We're beyond that point. They are supposed to represent us. They're supposed to represent us. We pay them. So they have to, and they're supposed to show courage right now. And if they don't, the party's already, it dropped 8 points after Schumer passed the last budget. Favorability of the Democratic Party dropped by 8 points. They lost 8 points worth of support. How much more do you think it's going to fall after this? People are rightfully so fed up with both parties, and that's where I am. I agree with that. But if the Dems want to talk about this fascism and be a stopgap, they can't hold out and not fight back until midterms. It's not going to work when we just saw everything that we saw that John just covered and that John recorded, where ICE are dragging guys, dragging young men off and arresting reporters and shooting people with rubber bullets and kidnapping people off the street. It's not going to work. We don't have the time to wait another year and a half.
Absolutely. Let's play the clip from Chuck Schumer when asked about shutting down the government.
Why do you do this to us?
A 79-year-old business owner says he was body slammed.
Nope. But that was fucked up too. 79-year-old businessman. It's the last one on the live doc.
1 second.
And remember, we inundated Colin with a lot today. So thank you, Colin. There's a lot of craziness.
And definitely check out the full video that we played for you. Comment, share it. We need to get it out to many more people. Honestly, there's channels with a lot bigger audience than us that we send these to. For whatever reason, they don't show it. We got to get this out to a lot more people. Let's play it.
Is the difference this time the immense pressure you are getting from your base to stand up to and fight President Trump?
Absolutely not. We're hearing from the American people that they need help on health care. And as for these massive layoffs, guess what? Simple one-sentence answer. They're doing it anyway. There's no shutdown. They're laying off all these people. The budget they've proposed says another 300,000 federal workers should be laid off. They laid off 80,000 in the Veterans Administration. They're trying to intimidate the American people and us. But the bottom line is, if they fire all these people, first, the courts have brought a lot of them back because what they did was illegal. And second, there's such pressure on them not to do it because of the harm it causes people that they back off. Originally, they fired 80,000 from the Veterans Administration. Now it's 30,000. That's still bad, but it shows you the heat is on them when they do this, and the American people won't like it at all.
I don't know what the fuck he's talking about, honestly. And it's interesting. They only seem to care about like public employees being laid off, which I feel for them, government workers. They don't seem to care for, all the big tech companies that they've prostituted themselves to and showered themselves with donations from Microsoft and X and Facebook and Meta that are literally creating the AI fucking data centers that are going to cause the layoff of tens of millions of Americans. They don't care about that. It's only the public workers. But I don't know what he's talking about. He's talking about healthcare in terms of the
And they don't care
shutdown.
about public workers when they do it, by the way.
Right. They don't care about that. He's talking about like healthcare and the government. What Trump's and the Republicans are trying to do is going to hike people's healthcare costs. Yeah, but this isn't about negotiating healthcare. This is about they're literally running over, hit and run protesters. ISIS. They're literally tackling women. They're literally chasing people on bikes. They're literally creating a war zone on the streets of America. Yes, healthcare is important, and that should be part of a shutdown negotiation. But you don't negotiate. You know, the America is we don't negotiate with terrorists. The Democrats should not negotiate with fascists. The government should be shut down, and the people need to demand immediate cooling of the temperature of this fascism. And frankly, I think Trump should be impeached for a lot of the things he has done already.
Absolutely.
All right.
Well,
I gotta
it was
run.
nice knowing you, Jordan.
Yes. Could you finish this out? Because I got to go take care of the kitty.
Yeah.
All right.
I was
And
saying, you said he should be impeached. I was like,
yeah. Anything else you want to talk about? The floor is yours. But if you could read the super chats, I got to go take care of the kitty.
I'll read it right now.
Thanks, everyone.
All right. See you, Jordan. All right. Karina Pax Agape. $10. Less lethal is not lethal. Absolutely. I am really grateful for your reporting. You have been reporting on injustices for years, member supporter for years. Well, thank you so much, Karina. We really, really appreciate your support. Jennifer West, thank you so much for becoming a YouTube member. Sparky, thank you. I wish it were more. I appreciate you all. And the on-the-ground citizen reporters. Thank you so much, Sparky. And thank you for contributing. Everything helps. Kayana Broomfield, thank you so much for becoming a member. Welcome to the Status community. Alan, a member for 1 month. Real alpha males don't need a daddy. Why MAGA need a daddy? Besides, Trump always chickens out. I agree. 100%, and I feel like these cosplayers, somebody needs to tell them that. But yeah, thanks. Nadia Yvette Chambers, member for 19 months. Let's see, NSPM7 prescribes trans people. Absolutely. Several of the criteria are commonly said to apply to trans people by the right. Dems always cave to the right and block the left. And you're right about the language. It mentions gender and it's so loosely based. Who do you think that's targeting? I think it's pretty clear to us with all the other rhetoric and indicators that it is absolutely the trans community. And I know that that's scary. Nadia Yvette Chambers, women voting, owning property, or having jobs. That as well. That could possibly be it. And thank you so much for your donation. Ashi became a YouTube member. Welcome. Welcome to the Status community. Stephen Smith. Thank you so much for joining us, Stephen. And thanks for becoming a member.
And that's all of them.
Does that wrap us up? Well,
Yeah.
thank you to everyone who joined. Colin, I hope you have a wonderful night and hope to see you guys soon. And thank you so much for all of your support. Stay tuned.